Welcome to Beyond the Frontline podcast, where your hosts, U.S. Air Force veterans Donna Hoffmeyer and Jay Johnson, will help you transition from the front line to the home front. Listen every other Wednesday as they will bring great conversations, resources, tips, and feel-good stories that will resonate and relate. Now, here's your hosts, Donna Hoffmeyer and Jay Johnson.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Beyond the Front Line. This is Jay Johnson, and we are excited to have you joining us again on another incredible episode. And I am joined in studio, as I always am, by the one, the only, she's waiting for it. She's still waiting for it. The queen of Beyond the Front Line, Miss Donna Hoffmeyer. Donna, what's going on?
Hello. See, I've got you trained now.
Yeah.
I tell you, every time Brian hears it, he's just rolling his eyes.
Yeah, as long as he hears the hesitation in my voice, right? He knows that I'm not trying to put him in a bad spot.
Fighting
That's what I
chance.
think. Yeah, I'm trying to give him a chance.
He's home building a stair rail right now.
Is it really?
Seriously, like we come down to the stairs this morning, and he's like, "Don't touch the railing." Now I see it's clamps all the way down.
Nice.
He's putting that. Yeah, he's very talented.
So he didn't like take a life insurance policy out on you and then said, "Hey, test out that new stair."
Don't give him any ideas.
Freak accident happened this morning.
You know why he won't do that?
Why is that?
Because we have children.
Oh,
and
he doesn't
no
want
way
to take
be
that
a
on.
single
But
parent.
yeah, that's tough for anyone who does it. There's no doubt about it. I'm sitting here thinking, Donna, we're going to be doing this recording and my heater's going to kick on from now and again. So I just want to say to all the listeners, if you hear a little humming in the background, it's a chilly 43 degrees in San Antonio, Texas. That's cold for us. That's cold for us.
It's freezing. I have my boots on and I have a heavy sweater on.
Yeah.
And I'm cold and I'm from New Hampshire, so
yeah,
everybody makes fun of me.
Yeah, I still wear t-shirts and shorts. I just don't go outside. That's the deal.
Oh no, Brian wears shorts 12 months out of the year and goes outside and thinks nothing of it and cannot figure out why.
No, not this cat. Look, there's a reason I don't live up north. Our guest is going to tell us he was, although born in a very, I think, steady environment, right? Yeah. Most people think of that location as very temperate all year long, but he grew up living in a very cold climate area.
Well, he did.
So but that's not me. I can't live up north.
But if anybody could see the size of this guy,
yeah,
he would probably be like my husband, wearing like shorts 12 months a year in the middle of the snow. Brian did that in Germany.
He's a big dude.
He's massive.
Yeah?
Yeah.
He's a big dude.
Yeah.
I can see him on screen, but you can't tell. So this is the first time he and I have met. We've done a couple of these episodes where out of the blue, you just surprise me and you say, "Hey, I've got somebody," and I don't know anything until I sit in the seat, which is kind of fun because that creates curiosity in me, and we get to have some.
Oh, so like all these are easy to do because we're nosy and
curiosity gets me in trouble sometimes.
Well, yeah, it does.
It's a problem.
It gets me in trouble all the time. But
that's why I hang around. It's fun for me to watch you get in trouble. That's entertaining.
All right. Enough of that. Let's go back to our person.
See how she sidesteps that, everybody? She doesn't want me to go there and rebuild.
We're at our 5 minutes of banter. We're moving on. Let's
do it.
All right. So we have Matt Cable. Now, like I told you, I've known Matt longer than he's known me because Matt used to be in our program when I was still in the military. My last job, we ran this program called MedCon, and he was one of our service members we took care of. And just a down and dirty of that is that Guard and Reserve that got injured while they were on orders, we either kept them on the orders if we could catch them soon enough or got them back on orders so they could get their medical care through the military because the military owed them that.
That's a nuance, Donna, that I don't know that we've really hit on. So Guard and Reserve, if they're not in an active status?
Right. So what was happening is that Guard and Reserve, they'd get injured on orders. And then guess what happens? Like say they're deployed, right? And then they get hurt and then they come home and then they come off orders, but they still have injuries. And
they can only receive treatment if they're actively on orders.
Well,
that's where I was going.
They can only receive treatment covered by the military if they're on the orders.
I understand.
If they're off orders, then they have to resort to whatever insurance they have and go that route. But it can get pricey and the military doesn't see all the care that they're getting, right?
Yeah.
So this program existed because they're like, hey, we need to do better.
And it's nonsensical, right? If they're injured on active duty, we take care of them.
We should be taking care of them.
I agree.
Yep.
I agree.
So,
okay, that helps, I think, for anyone who may be listening.
So Matt it's the injured, ill, and diseases. We take care of all that, right?
Got it.
So Matt ended up with actually an illness that got him pretty sick. So I'm not going to get into details of it. I'm just going to give a brief overview of him. Is that he was in the Air Force for a total of about 11 years, and he was security forces. He is a military brat. His dad was Navy, and interestingly was finance guy for the SEALs.
Really?
Kind of cool, right? And so they've been all around, born in San Diego. He was in Hawaii for a short stint, but most of his childhood he remembers in Great Falls, Montana.
There's the cold climate. Yeah, right there.
If he was the size he is now, I don't think that was much of an issue, because he's a beast. He's taking up the whole screen. I can see him. And so
we're talking fit, everybody.
Yes.
When she says that, he's a really fit guy.
He is a very fit guy. Now, I am going to say that we are here for a resilience series.
Yeah.
And Matt, I'm not going to tell what it is. I'm going to let him talk about it. But Matt ran into a very serious illness and nearly took his life a couple times. And by all rights, truly, we shouldn't be talking to him. He has really overcome the odds. Now, I knew his story because he was in our program, and my friend and fellow nurse was his case manager.
Yeah.
And so I always got updates on Matt, like how he was doing. And a couple of times we were saying a lot of prayers because we weren't sure what we were going to see next. So the fact that I'm sitting here looking at him and talking to him, that by itself is defying the odds.
Right.
And he's defied other odds, which we'll talk about a little bit later. So
cool.
Anyways, with no further ado, Matt, how are you?
I'm great. How are you guys doing? I'm enjoying seeing you guys.
Yeah, it's fun, man. It's fun. We're glad. We really appreciate you taking the time to join us.
Of course, yeah, my pleasure. Oh yeah, I'm excited to tell everyone my story and you, because you don't know my story yet.
I don't. This is going to be the first, but I do know this, Matt. I mean, I didn't know till we just interacted briefly before stepping into the official recording. I mean, you and I have shared some duties together, if you will, not together, but you being a security forces member in the Air Force, and I used to be a weapons guy in the Air Force, I can relate very well to what you did and your family, right? My fellow brothers and sisters in the SF community, I appreciate a lot.
And when you're all sticking holes in them, I'm over there fixing them on the other side.
That's right. Good old Cadam guy. That's right. I love those guys, man. Gotta love cleaning those weapons every day.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there's the not glorious part of the end of it all. That's true.
All right, so let's talk. We're going to do a little summary of how you came in the Air Force, where you started, what brought you in, and then we're going to kind of move there. So start there is what led you into the Air Force?
Yeah, so after high school, I competed year long, and I was a 5-sport athlete. I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I started working. Perry wasn't even in my future at the time. I actually then got a call from my wrestling coach, and he asked if I wanted to come in and wrestle for the college over in Great Falls, Montana. And the college is it's a private Catholic college. And so I said, yeah, let's do it. I really enjoyed wrestling. I enjoyed getting my butt kicked every day. So I decided to take scholarship for wrestling. I wrestled for about 2 years. I actually went to school for criminal justice because one of my goals was to be in security law enforcement. And so that's kind of what I was chasing. You know, being a young 18, 19-year-old, you don't really know what you want to do. You know, you're like, I think I want to do this. So I decided to move forward, go to college, go to school for criminal justice, and then wrestle because I enjoyed it in high school. So I was wrestling, going to school. About 2 years in, thinking to myself, man, I want to get my career going already. So how can I do that? So first thing that popped in my head was military. And so I went and talked to a recruiter. This is about halfway through wrestling and in my second year in college. And I talked to a recruiter and talked me into joining the Air National Guard. Didn't know much about it, obviously. Here, take some tests, and then we're going to see how you do. And then send you off. I'm like, all right. So I knew security forces was a lot of obviously missiles and whatnot, but also you do run law enforcement on bases as well. So I knew I could maybe get a lot of knowledge from joining the security forces, and being in the guard normally is part-time, right? So if you're just a true guardsman, you're part-time, a couple weekends a year. And then, then you have your civilian job, which in my head back then, I was like, all right, I'll be a civilian police officer and I'll also be in security forces on the weekends. And so that's what I kind of decided to move forward with doing. And so I went through tech school, or BMT and tech school, came home, and I was immediately on active duty orders. So I was in the guard, I was Title 32, and I worked most of my time up on the hill in Great Falls, Montana. And then my chief, I must have been high speed airman, because he promoted me and wanted me to go work on Malmstrom Air Force Base, Title 10 active duty orders. So I'll be working with now the active duty guys in the Air Force. So that's what I did.
Just for our audience, so when he says Title 32 versus Title 10, he's talking about Title 32 being state-funded, guard-funded orders, and Title 10 meaning they move him onto active duty, regular Air Force orders, federally funded versus state-funded is essentially what that means. So, anyway.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, good stuff.
That's okay.
What time frame, Matt? Can you just set some context? What time frame are we looking at?
Yeah. So we're in 2012 now. 2013. Okay. Started on active duty orders, and then 2014 moved into obviously the new year, and I was on another 6-month term. Usually my orders were about 6 months, and then we re-up after about 6 months. So that's kind of what we did. And the middle of 2014, I was working topside law enforcement at Malmstrom Air Force Base, and so I was wearing all my gear every day. We work in 12 to 14-hour shifts. It was never really a 12-hour shift. It was always in 14, because you got to arm up and then you got to de-arm. So working those hours and those shifts, we got, I think, 3 days off, and then we're back on like 4 to 5 days. And so my training regimen in the gym was, depending on if I worked days or nights, it was either 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. or 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. So I was always trained probably around nighttime, 8 p.m., 9 p.m.-ish, and train till about 10, 11, go to bed, get a couple hours, wake up, do it all over again. That was my training regimen for the whole time I was working up at Malmstrom.
That's a key for the audience to keep in mind. So I have to ask this question. Were you this size when you first came in the guard? I'm telling you.
I was always a strength specialist, yes. I always was into strength, and then obviously endurance would come with a lot of work.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where. But back then I was still young, so I didn't really have goals of fitness. I just knew I wanted to train and be strong, be the strongest guy in the room.
Matt, this will help my brain. I wrestled through high school. I wasn't obviously as athletic or accomplished as you, because you received an opportunity to go do this at the collegiate level. But so give me, what weight class were you wrestling at?
So I was actually in 197.
Oh yeah.
So I would probably weigh about 210, and then I had a couple days to drop down to 197, and then after the weekend we wrestled, I would then gain another 10 pounds.
I know
back,
how that works. Yeah. Man, most of that was water weight they're pulling off of us to get to the minute, right?
Is that a heavyweight?
Oh, it's getting up to the heavyweight class 100%. Yeah. I wrestle, just to give you perspective, I weigh about 192 today, Matt, but in high school I was wrestling 101, 108 by comparison. Man. Yeah. Why? Yeah, I was on the opposite end of the spectrum from you.
Not on the mat.
No, but that's what I loved about wrestling. So maybe this ties into a little bit of what we're going to hear from him. I love the fact that it was an individual activity that contributed to a team score. But I love the fact it was just me on the mat against another human being of equal size, and man, let the best dog win. That was good stuff.
Yeah, that's good.
All right, man.
Yep. So that does go into the story, because that's kind of that's what I train now and compete in now is CrossFit. So before I even knew what CrossFit was, I was just strength training.
Cool.
At a normal gym, do my thing. Middle of 2014, I started getting really, really sore, and I didn't know why, because I trained hard every day, and I'm getting these crazy like back soreness, neck soreness, feeling like really fatigued, really sore. I'm like, what? Why? I didn't do anything crazy. So in my head, I'm like, well, I guess I'm just sore. So just continued grinding away, continued obviously working, and every day wearing 20, 30-pound vests with my M4, M9 strapped on me. And so all this weight on me. And so I'm just thinking, oh, my body's just sore. My shoulders are just sore. And about 2 months down the road, I decided to finally go to the doctor and have a doctor take a look at me. And so my first time going to the ER, actually, I went to get tested.
Why the ER?
Because it got down to the point where like I couldn't just call and make a medical appointment at Malmstrom. And so I went to ER and had them take a look at me. And when they took a look at me, I don't know if they thought I was just fooling or just whatever, but they diagnosed me with like, I think it was like a neck infection and take some Advil. And so I'm like,
that's the initial prescription for everything. Here's some Motrin 800.
That's military standard. Motrin, Tylenol. Like, and if it's really bad, you'll come back. Don't worry.
Yeah, but so that's what happened. I had 2 more visits to the doctors, and the next one actually was military medical. And the doctor, I don't know, he just like, oh, this guy's just sick. He's like, we're just gonna. I think he ran a test for strep throat, but he didn't even check the results. He's like, yeah, it's strep throat. Here's some antibiotics.
So nobody's doing lab work on you, are they? Nobody drew blood, right? Because the answer was in there.
Yeah, you just test my blood, you're gonna find out that I'm pretty messed up inside at the time, not knowing. So didn't know what was going on. A couple days go by, and now not only do I have the crazy muscle aches and body aches, but now my throat, it feels like strep throat times 2. Ugh. And now I get this sinus infection where I can't breathe out my nose now. And I'm like, I literally feel like I was dying. I was like, my body's just slowly dying. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. So I finally actually went to the ER again. And I was like, hey, I don't feel good. Like, I need blood work done or something. And that's what they did. They drew my blood right away because they knew I've been to the doctor 3 times already. And so they checked my blood, and they found that my white blood cells were 6 times normal than what it's supposed to be.
Right.
And they were kind of in shock. They're like, oh man. So they were asking me all these questions. I didn't know what these questions were pertaining to or anything because I'm young, not knowing much. So my mom meets me I pick her up, and then my brother meets me at the hospital. And so we're just sitting there, laying in bed, and the doctor comes in and he turns off the TV, which in my head I'm like, oh, this is important. And he tells me that they are 99% sure that it's leukemia. And so when I first heard that, I didn't even know really what leukemia was, but my mom was in shock. My brother after the doctor explained everything, my brother was like on the left side of me, and he's pale white, just like not knowing like what to think. And I'm just like, well, I got to beat it. And so I said that. My mom's crying, and they're all in shock, but I think I gave them some strength, me saying that and not acting tough, but just knowing that I got to just keep fighting.
So a couple things real quick, Matt. I don't mean to step on you as you share. I mean, one, again, just to take everybody back, you're in your early 20s, right? If I was correct,
I was diagnosed actually 23. Yep.
Wow. Yeah. Early 20s, and then I hear you saying here's the beginning emergence of resiliency. You said all I do is I've got to beat this, and I began encouraging those around me, right? Talking about your brother and mother. So here it comes, right? I don't know what prepared you for that. I'm interested in hearing you unpack a little bit of that. I go back to wrestling just because I know how much we had to pour out when we were out there. It's not an easy sport. So continue around that.
I kind of give a lot of my mental strength to all the sports I did growing up. That was a big part of my life. Sports made me mentally strong for sure. Not only just the sports, but the mentors that you have around sports, which is kind of why I do want to continue mentoring others and continue showing strength to help others through life, because life's rough, man. And people don't really know how rough it is until it hits them right in the face. Yeah. And it happens. It hits everybody in the face. So after I found out that I had leukemia, I got admitted that night, and I was kind of waiting. When you're waiting, they send you upstairs. You're just sitting in this bed, and now you got family worried about you. In my head, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what was going on. I was doing some research kind of about leukemia and what to expect kind of. So the night goes on. I didn't get a lick of sleep. I couldn't sleep, even if I tried. So I'm telling my leadership everything that's going on, telling everybody. And by this time, 9 a.m. next morning, my commander knew, everybody knew, my chief knew, everybody knew. So I'm getting these calls, and nobody can believe it because, I mean, it is rare. My leukemia, I ended up getting AML leukemia, which is acute myeloid leukemia, and that's leukemia of my bone marrow.
Yeah,
it's very rare for my age. So people can,
and everybody sees this ultra fit person. Like, you're healthy, you eat healthy, you work out, your mindset is healthy. I mean, like, boom, like in a stereotypical mindset, oh, that's the person that doesn't take care of himself. Surprise.
Yeah, you want to know what's funny is I never drank alcohol. I still haven't drank alcohol.
Wow.
I've never done drugs. I haven't even taken a whiff of even marijuana and or gummies, etc. And so growing up, I was extremely healthy and just avoided all that and took care of my body to the best of my ability and for the knowledge that I had back then. And so yeah, I was going in this battle pretty darn healthy.
Yeah.
And not knowing why I got it, but I did. And so I just took on the challenge. I remember that night, actually the following morning, waiting for the doctor to come in, and he came in, and I made a joke because I was actually about to get deployed. I was actually about to go on pre-deployment orders, and he came in, and first thing he said was, "Hey, good morning, Matt." He's like, "What are your plans for the next 6 to 8 months?" I'm like, "Well, Doc, I'm actually deploying. I'm actually deploying here in 2 months." He's like, "No, you're not."
You are, but to a totally different location, right?
Yeah. Yeah, this time it's to the unknown location.
Yeah.
So we kind of sat there, and he just told me the leukemia I had, and his name was Dr. Martin. Actually, I remember his name because he was a good dude. Actually, I ended up with 2 oncologists, and they both were awesome. Dr. Tang and Dr. Martin, they both were great dudes with a lot of knowledge. So I was very lucky. Even in the town of Great Falls, Montana, I was lucky. But so the first thing I said to him once he left was, "Doc, can I leave? Can I get released so I go work out?" He looked at me and just shook his head in disbelief, and he said, "Well, if that's what you want to do." I was like, thanks, sir. So he allowed me to get medically released to go work out. And I took that day and went and trained and got my mind right. And I remember training that night. I was squatting, and I was squatting a weight that I normally can do with ease. It was 405, and I usually can rep that out with ease, pretty easy. And I remember I was going deep, obviously, past the grass, and my back gave out on like the fourth set, or the fourth rep, and that never happens. And I just looked, it actually kind of hurt. My back just gave out. I'm like, Jesus, like, what just happened? So I looked in the mirror, and I was like, man, my body's telling me something. He's like, better quit this. You better get ready for this battle in front of you. So that's what I did. I took care of business and went back in the hospital to go fight this thing head on. And so first things first, I had to get what's called a Hickman port put in my chest.
Yep.
That was for all the chemotherapy, all the IV antibiotics that they were about to give me. So got my Hickman port put in and started chemotherapy right away. After the second night, going to the third night, I started feeling a little different. At this point, the chemotherapy that they gave me, it eats away your entire insides, kills off your entire your white blood cells, everything. Yeah. So now I have no immune system, nothing, and I'm just sitting there, and I have friends and family coming in because they want to see me, and they couldn't believe that I've gotten this disease. And they called my room the clown car room because I kept having friends come in, which was cool. But all these friends and family had to gown up, and we had to take a lot of precaution because obviously if I get sick, I'm in trouble. So
right.
I had a lot of love and support, which was very, very nice. It helped for sure. A couple days in though, I started feeling different, feeling weird. And the next night, I don't remember because I had complete organ failure. And so I immediately went into the ICU and on life support and induced coma.
Yeah.
They think it's from an infection that I had from a Hickman port. So whatever happened, think it's from the port in my chest.
Hmm.
It's a source of infection, especially, and then obviously no white blood cells and no immune system. It's pretty dangerous.
You went septic
So,
immediately. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty
mhm,
much, yeah. That's pretty
mhm.
fast too, if you can imagine that. You
It's
get your port
fast.
in, get a little chemo, boom,
Yep.
you're in the ICU. That's how
Yep.
you have no T cells, all your
Yeah.
fighter cells, no white blood cells. Yeah, you're just an open vessel there for infection.
Yep. Oh yeah, absolutely. So, uh, yeah, I went right into I don't remember anything, obviously, but what I was told and what and from the pictures, I was on life support and coma for about 18 days. Over the 18 days, I had lost 60 plus pounds. Not supposed to wake up, but I did. And it was definitely a miracle. And I remember waking up and the pain I was in from just barely making it. I was on a ventilator for so long. My throat I couldn't talk from the tubes and everything going on. And my mom showed me some pictures, and I couldn't believe I was at that stage and barely making it. And man, I knew I had to just continue fighting. And so that's what I did. I had to relearn how to walk. I had to relearn how to eat. I remember they were giving me Jello and all this stuff because obviously I hadn't swallowed food or chewed food for so long. I had to relearn how to do all that. I had to relearn how to walk. The doctor says it's gonna take a couple weeks. I said no, it's gonna take me a week, and it took me like 5 days, and I
You're
was
like,
walking.
no. Let me rewrite
You
that
know,
script for you.
it's the craziest feeling too, like trying to relearn how to walk, like the balance. Like why is my balance gone? When you're in your head, you're like, I'm this athlete, I'm this superior athlete, and I can't even walk right now. Like, how do you forget
Yeah.
how to walk? Yeah, it was the craziest thing in my head, and just I'm like, well, let's just keep doing it. And so that's what I did.
How
I got
long
rid of
was
the walker.
it? How long was it from the time that you came out of the induced coma to when you went back to the gym the first time?
You're
So
okay.
once the doctors actually released me from the hospital, I went to the gym that night. And that was like probably what was keeping me going, honestly. I
Well,
had that drive in my mind and that just
back up just a little bit.
drive in my
Back up a little bit. I think it cut out somewhere. So you wake up, your organs are working again. You have to relearn everything. How long from that
yes.
point to when you got discharged? How many days was it?
I think I was in the hospital still another like month plus. I think maybe it was like, yeah, I was pretty sure. It was really brutal because I had to learn how to walk, I had to learn how to eat, and then I had to get my blood count back up. My white blood cells, it took
Right.
forever to come back, but they weren't going to release me. My white blood cells were above a certain level, which is safety reasons, obviously, because of what I just went through.
Right.
So now I'm waiting in the hospital each day. Just got in my head, I'm just like wasting away. Like, this is so brutal. I can't even go to the bathroom by myself. Someone had to carry me or walk me or whatever. First, I was bedridden for a long time, so I literally had to poop myself. It was
Wow.
so, and it's like my mind fuck, just mentally just messing with you. And I had to poop in a bucket on the bed, and
Yeah.
that's why I'm like, I need to walk now, like ASAP. So like, I remember there was one time my mom was staying with me, and I hadn't walked by myself yet, but I was like, I gotta go to the bathroom, and mom's sleeping, and I'm like, I'm sick of this. So I got up and I walked my ass to the bathroom, and I was like, hey mom, look, I'm pooping by myself.
That probably didn't make her very happy to see that you
No,
had
she was
traversed the
pissed.
room on your own.
Yeah, she was
Probably
she
did
woke up
and
so
didn't, right? Double edged.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like, I
she
already
woke up
went through this
pissed.
when you were a toddler. I don't want to do this
Yeah,
again.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. She's like, what are you doing? And I'm just like, mom, I'm going to the bathroom. Leave me alone. So there's some, like you said, resiliency. I'm bouncing back day by day, doing my little steps, and going to the bathroom by myself finally, and walking again slowly but surely, and getting to the point where now I can walk without a walker. And I was in the hospital for 30 plus days. Couldn't wait to get out. Once I got the clearance that I could leave, I remember how excited, just joy I was. And that night, I'm like, I'm going to the gym. I don't care. I'm going to work out. So I had a Hickman port. At this time, actually, no. They actually removed the Hickman port. They put lines in my
Like
arms.
a pick line.
So yeah, pick lines.
So for the audience, a pick line is a basically a really, really long IV, really long, and it goes all the way up the arm. It's especially trained to be able to get one of those in. It goes up near the heart, closer to the heart, to get the medication.
Yeah, it drops. Yep, exactly. So it was always interesting. I had a lot of those surgeries done, a lot of them, because I didn't want to be stuck in a hospital. So I said, hey, I will put my own medication and IV medication in me. Just keep this port in me so I can I think it was like every 6 or 8 hours I'm putting medicine in me.
Yeah.
And I had this machine that just injected it into me.
Yeah.
So I do it. And so it gave me the freedom to be able to go and train when I wanted and to live a slightly normal-ish life. I kind of out of the hospital because, man, being in that type of environment really messes with you mentally. And once you go through something pretty tragic, what I just went through, even the smell of the hospital kind of just triggers just like memories and you being back there, and it's just, oh God. So getting out was the best thing for me, and being able to try and go back to my normal regime.
Matt, I want to tap into a little bit of this real quick, if you don't mind. So you described earlier, really fit guy, 5-sport athlete, training, working out, not necessarily a big goal, just you enjoyed what that did for you. So you were very fit, and then you described it as life just hit you in the face, right? Sucker punch out of nowhere. And I think I think we three would agree, and probably all the listeners would. I mean, there are people that fall on either side of this equation. They're faced with something out of the ordinary, unexpected, and some take on a defeatist posture, right? Throw their hands up. I quit. I can't do this. I don't know how I'm going to get through it. Woe is me, on and on and on. And you took an entirely different approach. I've got to beat this. I'm going to do whatever I have to do. I've got to get out of here to go work out because that does something good for us. That's true. So, Matt, can you talk a little bit about how important, now looking back over the battle, the length that you were battling this thing, how important was your mind, your drive to, I'm not done yet, I've got more to do? Talk about that, will you?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so mindset is huge. It's absolutely probably the biggest thing that you need to have going through any battle in life, because, man, once you're down on yourself and once you think negatively, man, you're not gonna make it very far. Honestly, you're gonna listen to your mind. You're gonna feel sorry for yourself. You're not gonna get off the couch, and you're not gonna take care of yourself. So for me, I knew that I had to keep a strong, positive mindset. And so I did. Not saying I was strong every day or every second of the day, because you do have those days where you're like, why me? You start feeling sorry for yourself, and then for 30 minutes you feel sorry for yourself, and you're like, all right, get out of this mindset right now and get back to fighting for your life and finding what makes you happy in this life. And so that's what I did. I went to the gym that night because obviously going to the gym is my happy place. Taking care of myself is my happy place, and it's what I enjoy doing. And I enjoy training, working my body so it's at maximum performance. That's what you want, and that's the reason, honestly, why I've beaten this battle, not once but twice. I give it all the fitness, taking care of my body and listening to my body, and so that's what I will always do. But that night when I went to the gym, I went and attempted to bench press, because back then it was bench, squat, deadlift. Well, let's see how big my lifts get. And so I went to lay on a bench, and I remember the bar was a 45-pound bar, and literally tried it for 2 reps, and I couldn't even get it for 2 reps. It buried me. And
and what did you normally press?
I was pushing over 405 before the battle.
405 down to 45, right? if that's not, excuse the swear, but if that's not a mind fuck, right there,
yeah.
I don't know what it is. And as somebody that loves to work out, like I can imagine you're like, oh my God.
Yeah. Yep. And I knew. I said, well, this battle's about to begin. Let's go. So the second battle began in my head, and it was like, all right, let's take this challenge and let's see how far I can get, how far I can go. Have a goal in mind. I think that's the biggest thing for us as human beings is having a goal, a set goal that you can chase no matter what. It doesn't have to be you just almost died and now you gotta like in a goal in life. All right, cool. Like it's the new year. Let's say that the new year. It's like, all right, let's make a goal and let's stick with a goal and let's continue it. Biggest thing that people have is they stop chasing their goal, and then that kind of it affects their mentality and their mindset, and that's kind of when they get depressed, is because they quit doing what they love, or they haven't exactly even found what makes them happy, honestly. But everybody's got to have something that they love to do that makes them happy, and then they do that. And when they stop doing it, they're gonna get depressed, and that kind of has affected our society today, I think, in my opinion.
Matt, I love what you're sharing there. And there's another part that you shared earlier too. I love that you actually called out to everybody. It doesn't mean I was strong and fighting every day, right? You talked about there were these little brief, that's what I took from you more than anything. There were these little brief moments where you had these moments of doubt or fear or, right, why me? But what I heard you say is you just don't stay there very long. Right. You recognize it for what it is, you reframe it, you get back up, and you're back in the arena. And I think that's powerful for people to hear, because I don't want someone listening to an incredible story like you have and thinking, well, these guys just have something special that I don't.
No, that's right.
You had bad days too. You just did not allow it to keep you there,
or he couldn't remember them because he was on a ventilator.
Couldn't remember them. Yeah, but he talked about consciously being aware of times of having.
I'm teasing.
Yeah,
Matt, I want to, just for the sake of time here, you that period of time, again, you started back to the gym, and I know because I was on the other side hearing the updates, right? And I'd hear, holy crap, Matt's at the gym, and I'm like, really? And I would just smirk, right? Because I was like, you go, dude, you do you, right? And where everybody else was just like, no, the gym is dirty and you'll get a cootie and you'll die and whatever. And you're like, yeah, already been there, done that. So moving on, right? And the cootie wasn't even from the gym, right? It was actually from something at the hospital. So, so just to kind of move it a little bit forward, you overcame that, right? You ended up going to remission, right?
Yeah. So 2015, finally in remission. And
right.
I then battled back, and I continue training every day, even through the pick lines. I'm training, and doctors are like pretty much calling me crazy, and I'm like, well, guess what? If it gets swollen, I'll come see you guys. You guys can pull it out. Right. But yeah, I just continue training. You know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Eventually, after all the chemotherapy, when they officially said I was in remission, that was 2015. I was free. I was free, and I was able to now train without a pick line. And I actually transitioned over shortly after 2015 and into CrossFit. And I did that because I was kind of getting bored of the whole picking weight up, put it down, and feeling out of shape and not having that endurance that I would have during wrestling season or back in the day, you know. So I transitioned over to CrossFit, and when you transition over to CrossFit after being a powerlifter your whole life, the form and technique is huge, and we don't necessarily have the best form and technique if you're a powerlifter. So I know having to train cleans and jerks and snatches and all these movements that you have in CrossFit with dumbbells and free weights and whatnot, it takes some time. So I had a lot of patience and just continue every day, continue just training CrossFit and working form technique. Over time, it was getting better and better and better and better. And I still, to this day, it was 2022, I still work on little things to perfect my form as well. Even across, it's been 6 years, 7 years since I've joined CrossFit. So every day, still trying to perfect my everything training wise in CrossFit. But
which is awesome. Let me back up a little bit. So in the meantime, you went back to work in the guard, right? You were back on.
Yeah, back on orders.
Never got on. Right, you were still on order.
Yes. So I actually, even after the Medcon orders and whatnot, my command, my leadership must have thought decently highly of me. Highly of me enough to keep me on active duty orders. So then I went back on to Title 10 active orders at Malmstrom. Yeah, that was literally most of my career. I think most of my career I was on active orders or Medcon. So but I was on orders active duty through 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, and 2018 I got the call to go on the Titan Games with The Rock. So I was on season 1, episode 6 of the Titan Games.
I knew I had seen you before. I say that sincerely.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yes, surprise.
Yeah, that's
so it was very cool to be able to go out and perform in front of others, right, in the world. But for me, the biggest thing was sharing my story and sharing what I overcame, because I know a lot of individuals go through a lot of stuff these days, and they don't have anybody to talk to about it, or to even like listen to their story and show them strength and give them hope. So for me, that was a big thing, and I was able to do that. So after I competed, I shared my story in the Titan Games. I then went on pre-deployment orders. I finally fought the med board and fought everybody, and they finally were able to deploy me. So I was very happy.
Stop you there, just so people knew that you were fighting a second battle. I mean, you had the whole illness and overcoming it, and that was enough. But the military is on the other side saying, hey, you know what? Cancer is just not compatible with military retention standards. So we're going to medically board you out, right? That was what was happening on the other side, right? And so you had to fight that administrative battle to say, hey, I am remission, I'm good, I want to come back. And you won. So that, and people don't understand that itself is it's an administrative process, but it's a mental process, because you don't know who's going to say what, and there's appeals, and it's a huge pain. So you overcame that, and they said, okay, fine, your cancer's gone, we'll let you go back to work.
Yep. So yeah, after fighting all that and going back to work and fighting a med board, I was on a code for the rest of my career after that. But the code actually allowed me to deploy with my team overseas in 2019. So after the Titan Games, I knew that in my head that I was deploying, and so I was excited. I was like, yeah, I finally get to deploy with my unit. And so after a couple months of pre-deployment training, we actually flew out early January, and my episode aired February 6th of 2019. And it was awesome because I was able to get I had message after message of all those individuals going through not only but cancer and leukemia as well. And so I was able to talk to a lot of people through my social media and to make videos to showcase like everything I overcame and the strength that I've had mentally and physically. So that was a blessing in itself. I continued working while being deployed. And while I was deployed, still working 13, 14, 15-hour shifts and trying to train when I could. About 3.5 months into my deployment, I was getting the same side effects that I had 7 years prior.
Yep.
Or I guess 6 years prior. Too. And in my head, I'm like, yeah, I'm just sore. I'm just sore. It's fine. I'm just gonna keep training. But actually, I was every day. I was like, man, this air quality is such garbage. Like, it's the air quality. That's why my endurance is getting worse, and I'm getting fatiguing easy because it's damn air quality. And then finally, just over like 2-3 week period, I'm like, I don't think it's air quality anymore. Yeah. So I actually was lucky. He was a civilian. I think he was a civilian oncologist, but he was in the reserves, and he was medical over where I was deployed. I'm very lucky to have him there, because he actually, like, that day I went in, got my blood tested, and I came back, and he knew everything that he saw. He's like, yep, we need to get you out of here yesterday. This is not the place for you. I had 85% leukemic cells in my body, and it was just like, dang. It's like, dang, it really came back that fast and that quick, huh?
And a vengeance, boy.
Something
it came back.
Matt, is that something they postured you for, though, right? Like, the recurrence is pretty high, I would assume. Or did they tell you, hey, we're going to keep monitoring? That's usually the case, right? We're going to keep track, because oftentimes it will make a second appearance. Or how prepared were you for that possibility?
For me, it was never about worrying if it came back or not. So in my head, I kind of didn't even think about it, because I just was like, yeah, if guess what? If it comes back, I got to fight again, which is okay. I will fight again and hopefully make it. So I never thought of it coming back. Even when I deployed, I'm like, oh shit. So like when it did come back, it kind of hit me. I'm like, damn, let's go. So I got medevac back to the States ASAP. I went right to Walter Reed. Yeah. And was there for about 40 plus days.
I remember
And
that. I remember getting the word that you were back. I remember distinctly Janita coming back going, Matt's relapsed. And I was like, oh man. And then Walter Reed and go ahead. So you were there. Again, I just want to I'm gonna have to summarize a little bit. You did relapse. Did you have your treatment at Walter Reed?
I actually just got back in remission at Walter Reed. So they shot me up with crazy chemotherapy again, this time even harder than last time because your body can get used to chemotherapy. And then if it gets used to chemotherapy, then it won't kill off
More
the
resistant
leukemia.
to it. Yeah.
Yeah. So they hit me up with some hard stuff and it got me pretty sick. I actually developed a blood clot in my heart. And so it got pretty brutal.
You had more than that going on because what happened? You got a repeat front row seat with the ventilator again.
Well, actually not yet. So I got back into remission about 40 plus days. I Walter Reed. I made the decision to move to Arizona because
That's right.
I had some family in Arizona and I wanted to be close to family, and they had the Mayo Clinic, which Mayo Clinic's one of the top cancer treatment facilities. So I decided to move to Arizona. Never been, but I loved Arizona. Every time I would go travel there for a little vacation, just the weather and me being from Great Falls, Montana, and the cold, I really enjoyed warm, deserty Arizona.
Even for a big guy.
So loved Arizona, and obviously started treatment over there at Mayo Clinic. And after my second round of chemotherapy, this one might have been my fault, but I went and continued training because I needed to, especially with everything that's happened. I just went back into my relapse and try to get back in remission. Now I have to get a bone marrow transplant. So I started training again. I never really stopped, but going through like all the chemotherapies and whatnot, I lost a lot of my strength, my endurance, everything I kind of trained for and worked for. I lost a lot of that. And so I try to keep getting it back because I would keep going through rounds of chemo, and this chemo was different, it hit different. So I would lose a lot and I'd try to get it back. And so I was still training very heavily. And I woke up one morning and I had this crazy headache, and I decided to continue training through it, doing what I could. And I was very, very blessed too, because I had met my now wife, Ensley. I met her through this journey. I'll do a brief summary of how Ensley and I met because it's kind of a big part of my story. And so I don't want to take up too much of your guys' time. But when my episode aired of the Titan Games, she was actually on her second day she was diagnosed with breast cancer. And so her her second day of her double mastectomy, bilateral vasectomy. And she was going through a dark place for sure. And she turned on the episode of the Titan Games that I was on, and it happened to be my episode. And the first person she sees was me telling my story. And she just was so inspired and was crying through my episode. It helped her so much that she commented on a photo of mine the day after to see if I was real. And I was real. And she commented on a photo I posted on Instagram about thanks for the love and support through my journey and everything. And she left a grayer heart face and whatever the emoji was that she posted. But I went and looked at her profile and I saw that she was just battling cancer, and she had no hair and still beautiful as ever. Jesus. And she was actually Miss Florida USI, doing all that pageants and whatnot. And I was like, man, this is awesome. So I reached out to her and just said how much of inspiration she is to continue fighting and battling. And we started talking, and we never stopped. So we started when I was deployed, and we ended up talking every day through deployment. So we got to the point where 3 months in, and we're talking. It's getting harder and harder because obviously I can't see her or touch her physically, and it's really hard. And then lo and behold, I relapsed, and now I'm going back to the States. And now she was able to fly from Florida to meet me at Walter Reed.
Wow.
That night I got it. And so we met in the hospital for the first time. And she honestly never left my side after that. She ended up moving to Arizona with me to help take care of me through my transplant and everything. And that day that she flew in to start to take care of me is the night that I went to the ER because of what happened through those headaches ended up being a fungal infection that I developed, probably because I'm a dummy and still training hard through chemotherapy and whatnot.
But it was a fungal infection where? It wasn't in your foot.
Yeah, I was going. Yeah, this fungal infection was actually leading to my brain. It was attacking
Yes.
my brain, and I didn't know that at the time. But Ensley took me to the ER that night. She flew in. She took me to the ER, and they admitted me immediately, and I went right into the ICU and back on life support again. And they ended up doing. The only reason why they were able to even do surgery on me is because they shot me up with white blood cell fertilizer to shoot my white blood cells up, because I had none, because I just had gone through a round of chemo. And so they had to shoot my white blood cells up. They did. And I'm fucking so lucky that my white blood cells shot up to like 7 or 8 or something like that. And they were able to do surgery on me. They were able to do surgery, like 5 surgeries in 7 days. They were able to save my eye. They were able to save my life. But I
Yeah.
was on life support again for almost 2 weeks.
Yeah, it was a while. Yeah. I remember seeing the picture, and we were like, and he's like, hey, he has a fungal infection in his brain. And I'm like, what? And I mean, I said there was one side of us that were sending prayers and like really open, and then the other side, as nurses, we're like, oh boy.
Oh yeah, that one was a little brutal and rough. And Ensley had the time she's ever seen someone like that and happy. The first time she moved to be with me and take care of me, she saw that. Oh God, all the stuff I put her through, Jesus. But so and my mom, and
you two are a force to be reckoned with, though, Matt. I mean, when I listen to her story, I listen to what you're sharing. I mean, you two. I don't know, Matt. I don't mean to jump ahead, although we are getting close to landing the plane for this episode. But are you out sharing your story on a routine basis? Are you a speaker getting out there and carrying forth this message?
I do share my story quite a bit, but I like to share it more. My goal would be to public speak and go out and just share my story, share my experiences and everything I went through, and show individuals like resiliency and the strength of your mindset and the power you can have. So that's like another goal of mine that I have, even with training and doing what I can at the gym and whatnot, and obviously with family. Because shortly after I survived that, I had a bone marrow transplant. Bone marrow transplant went well, but not the best. My blood did not start reproducing until 11 months post transplant, and so I was dealing with getting blood transfusions twice a week for 11 months. And that was pretty brutal, especially with my lifestyle and how I train, and trying to train when I could and every day, having energy for about an hour out of the day and trying to get up and do what I can with half the blood that you're supposed to have in your body. It was tough, but I made it work, did what I could. That's most you can ask for, honestly, is just do what you can do when you're feeling it, and continue doing what you love to do. And that's what I did. And it worked out. After about 11 months, we were trying all these procedures and therapies and everything. Finally, we did a procedure called, brain fart. It was a plasmapheresis, and that's where you take out your blood and your plasma out of one arm, and you pull out all your everything that's not working, and you go through a machine, kicks out everything bad, and you put new plasma in your body. And after about a month and a half, my body, I started reproducing hemoglobin again, and I was able to get my blood back and my energy level back. And now my body was feeling pretty decent again. And it went through a lot. Obviously, I went through a lot, but kept fighting.
I'm going to stop you there, because if anybody, I know most people cannot relate to what it feels like to have no blood in your system. I can relate, because after my son, I lost a ton of blood, more than I even realized. And I will tell you, I thought I was bat crazy. I mean, like the brain fog and the irrational thought processes that are in your head, and because there's no oxygen in your head. You can't make a full thought. So, and mine compared to yours is nothing.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
No, I did what I could. I was very blessed. I had ends. She was able to keep track of all my medications and to take them when I needed to, because if I'd missed the medication, like, I could have died, just because I was postponed bone marrow transplant, and now I have new DNA in my body. And to this day, I deal with like little side effects of my transplant, which is chronic graft versus host disease, which is it's GVHD, and that's where your body sees your new DNA as foreign, and so it attacks itself.
Yep.
And so So I'm not taking any medication anymore for the GVHD, but my body, I will always have it. I'll always have this problem. I deal with joint tightness and muscle tightness, and I'll get my body just feels swollen, and like my gums will swell up and just stuff that just happens. And so I have to really take care of my body. I have to really make sure my body is mobile. I work on my mobility every day, making sure I stretch. And I'm just, because the way I train, I can't have tight limbs. I can't have tight joints. Got to keep my body as healthy as possible.
Yeah.
So that's so for me, it's just health is a huge thing for me, and I have to really take care of my body forever. I want to live a good long life. I got to make sure I take care of it, which means I got to have proper nutrition and proper fitness as well. And
so I want to point out something here. So when I left the military, one of the big initiatives that was going on was this invisible wounds initiative, right? And I would get frustrated because they would associate invisible wounds with PTSD. That was pretty much like, it was almost interchangeable words. And I would be in meetings and I would make this comment, please remember, it's more than just PTSD. And you're just a prime example. Like, somebody looks at you and they're like, holy damn, there's this huge, massive, fit guy. He's got it all going on. And the reality is you're overcoming a lot all the time. You're still battling like the side effects and stuff like that. So I just put it out to the audience, like, what you see on the outside is not what's always going on. We always put on, and we try to put on our best face and try to get ourselves out there. So when somebody's having an off day, or you're not sure why somebody is responding in a certain way or whatever, just have grace, right? We really don't know what's going on with people if you're not in their inner circle. So
100%. That's what I say all the time. People do see, when they see me, they don't know what I've been through.
Right.
Nor do they. Like, why should they know, unless I obviously know who I am and after my story. But yeah, once I tell people what I've gone through and what I go through, they're like, Jesus, like, what? So that's a big thing for me. That's why I give others the inspiration and the hope that they can get through whatever obstacle that they're going through as well. It doesn't have to be obviously leukemia or cancer. It could be anything. And so that's going to be a goal of mine for sure, to continue doing.
Okay, so hold on a minute. So Jay, say your thing, because I have the wrap up on this, because I know what the icing on the cake of this whole thing is, and I can't wait to tell you.
Well, Matt, I just want to thank you again for your time. Thank you for sharing your story. I just want to say, look, the truth is, people out there do need to hear it. And your bride, your now wife, right, is an example of that, how y'all met, how this encouragement became a blessing for each other. I think that's amazing. And then this is completely kind of off track with what we're wrapping up here. But going back to the Titan games, you were on season 1. Did you get to know the female competitors also?
Yes.
Yes. So you remember Jackie Wood? Are you and Jackie Wood friends?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Jackie is the daughter of a dear friend of mine, which is why I got to see you, because I was following Jackie, and Jackie made it all the way to the final. Didn't win. You two were beast mode, and now it just resonates even more with me getting to hear your story of overcoming resilience, and you're not done yet. You've got a lot to do still, Matt. I know you know that. And if I can do anything to help you get your name out there, to get you in front of people, just to continue to inspire and encourage, I would love to do that.
Well, him and I are already talking. I'll tell you about that later, like after the show. But him and I already had a little chat. But I need to turn this a little bit, because there's one more little overcoming the odds, right? And so Matt, I'm just going to summarize, overcomes cancer twice. Each go with cancer was a nice little trip on the ventilator, right, for a couple weeks to over a month or so. And now gets through all that, gets himself back, finds his bride, moving forward. And I'll be damned, what do you own now, Matt?
I own a little 11-month-old.
A little baby.
That's amazing.
What's his name?
Cade Stone Cable.
And
that's amazing.
And this was the old-fashioned way. Like, there's really, after everything he had been through, he not only should he be alive, but he shouldn't even have kids, right? And here we are with an 11-month-old. Probably super beast now with all the chemo.
He is super beast. He turns 1 year old on December 4th. So it's coming up real quick.
Yeah.
And yeah, we can't believe he's 1 year already. And time just flies. It really does. It flies, which is awesome. I love just seeing him grow, and I'm excited to see him continue to grow as well, and just continue chasing these goals with him, and showing him strength and resiliency growing up. And I mean, he'll be around a lot of his mom and I training. She trains, competes in bodybuilding, and I'm obviously CrossFit. So she'll do she'll be the glamour. I'll be the guts.
Well, brother, I appreciate you, and congratulations on that. Congratulations just on who you are. This is Zeal for life. It just extends beyond you, and I hope that somebody listening to this episode finds inspiration and the wherewithal just to say, man, I'm still in this arena because of hearing Matt's story. And there's more to do always, Matt, but thank you for taking the time.
Absolutely. Well, it's my pleasure. And yeah, thank you guys so much. And I look forward to continue chatting with you guys, and the future.
The future's looking bright, Matt. So, all right. So for everybody that's listening, thank you very, very much. We always enjoy you guys sharing time and space with us, and just taking the time out of your day to listen to us, to listen to these stories that we bring you. We hope that it brings value to your day. We hope you can find these nuggets that you can use in your life. And right now, the nuggets we're passing forward is all about resiliency. And Matt could not be a better example of resiliency, of like pretty much any person that I ever known. So from all of us here at Beyond the Front Line and our parent company, Coming Home Well, we thank you, and we hope you have an awesome week.
That's it, everybody. Bye for now.
Thanks for listening to Beyond the Front Line, a podcast of Coming Home Well. Join us every other Wednesday. And if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review. Follow us on Instagram at ComingHomeWell_BTS, or on Twitter at ComingHomeWell. Thanks again. And until all are home and all are well.